we need to talk about Skinamarink. It's been a while since I've done a video like this talking about a certain movie, and especially one that kind of came out of nowhere for me. I mean, Halloween, Kills and Ends, I was always going to do videos specifically about those films because I love that franchise so dearly. But Skinamarink is something that kind of came out of nowhere. I'd heard about it a little bit last year, a little bit of rumblings. I saw the poster of it. It looked really weird. And then all of a sudden, this hype train just kind of started happening with this film, and there was a lot of buzz about it. And I guess it kind of got TikTok famous or something. I don't really use TikTok, so I don't really know. Um, Skinamarink. I watched it, and this is the scariest film I have seen in a long time, and it might be the scariest movie I've ever seen. It has stayed with me since I saw it, and I'm going to talk at the end of this video a little bit about spoilers because I want to give a little bit of my thoughts on what is actually happening in this film in terms of my theories. But I just want to talk about this movie and the way that it has kind of helped shape, my sensibilities for horror. This is a movie, the plot synopsis, which you've probably heard already multiple times, but it's about two children, Kevin and Kaylee, who one night at home, their father disappears and the windows and doors in their house vanish. And that is the best way to sum up the movie because this is the most unorthodox, most experimental horror film I have ever seen. It's probably the most experimental film I've ever seen. It's a found footage movie where all of the shots in this film are centered around images of the house. What I mean by that is you never see what the children look like in this film. You never see other things in this movie. You never see the father, and the movie never shows you one direct angle of anything in this film. And that is what is terrifying about this movie. This movie uses darks, it uses shadows, it uses the night to really paint a picture of unlocking that childhood innocence of the fear of the dark within yourself. When I was a kid, before I really got into horror movies, I was pretty scared of the dark. You ever think sometimes where, you're watching TV in your room and it kind of lights up just one little spot of your room where you're watching, and then there's like this darkness in the corner and you feel like something is peering at you, like something is actually looking at you? That's what this movie does the entire 100-minute runtime of this film. Every single shot is so orchestrated to make you feel like you are a kid again. The angles are the angles of if you are a child. There's a lot of low angles on the floor specifically. There are a lot of high angles. Nothing in this movie is so directly in your face. And that is what is so terrifying about it. It's very hard to explain. It's like the thing about this movie is not what you see. That's not the things that you see in this movie are not scary. It's just things you don't see in this movie that make it absolutely terrifying. It felt like I was in a haunted house of sorts. And I actually, at one point in my life, did go a little bit of ghost hunting with my dad. And there's some really scary things that happened that are very unexplainable to this day. And I do believe in the paranormal because of these things. And I also believe in evil entities. And watching this movie brought me back to that experience where I was so frightful. And this is a movie that is masterful in that way. It is one of the best horror films I've ever seen because it did the one thing universally that no horror movie's been able to do to me for a long time, and that is to actually scare me. I got home, and I watched this last night. I got home from the theater, and I had to make sure the lights were on. I couldn't really walk in my house because, especially down here in the basement where I'm currently at, I couldn't just walk into, a dark room. I would always have to turn on the lights. And it stayed with me. The movie stayed with me up until the time I went to sleep. I was kind of frightful in a sense, and it made me feel like I was a kid again. And that is what makes this movie work so well. This is not a movie for everyone. Look, there are going to be a lot of people that watch this movie. You may watch this movie and you may absolutely hate it. And you might think it is a pretentious pile of trash. But let me tell you, if you just let yourself be locked into this movie, you let yourself experience this movie as an actual experience, as an attraction, as opposed to your typical formulaic film, you will be able to unlock certain fears that you thought were well hidden, that you've been able to disregard for 20 plus years of your life. I am 27 years old, and this unlocked fears in me that I haven't felt since I was 5. And that says a lot. This movie was masterful. It was masterful. It's the scariest thing I've seen in a long time, and it's a movie that I'm gonna go see again on Tuesday. I'm excited to see it again, but I'm also terrified. Like, it's one of those things where you have to, like, almost in a way, like, build up that want to really be scared, that stretching yourself to the absolute thinnest of margins to be able to indulge in an hour and 40 minutes of just agony, because this movie is so terrifying. And it really just unlocks something in me that I don't really want to be unlocked again. I've seen a lot of people talk about the frustrations with this movie, that this movie is kind of boring in a sense because it is a lot of shots of walls, shots of ceilings, shots of toys, shots of the TV that's playing the same cartoon over and over again. And I get it, okay? The shots of peering down hallways that are in darkness and you can't really make out what's there, but you see something. Your brain plays tricks on you in this movie, okay? Because you see this hallway, and for some people, there's nothing there. But for me, I felt like every time it peered in the darkness, I could always see something moving around in the background. My brain was playing tricks on me. Also, the way that the movie shot, it's based in the 90s, so the film grain is not the best of quality, clearly. And because of that, it actually works to the benefit of the movie because, again, nothing is ever clear in this film. You don't really know what you're seeing, or even if you're seeing what you believe you're seeing. But I've seen a lot of people complain about this movie, and I get it. Look, I understand. This movie, for me, it sits at 10 out of 10 on Letterboxd. This is like a special experience for me, and I feel like when I see this movie and I want to show it to friends, I feel like there are going to be a lot of my friends who don't get it, who really don't like it and feel like this is just boring, or they don't let their minds kind of unlock this puzzle in a sense, because that's what this movie is. It is a giant puzzle of what is actually happening. And so I want to kind of get into that a little bit. So if you have not watched the movie, make sure you click off the video, go watch the movie, and then come back to watch my final segment here where I talk about certain spoilers in the film and kind of my own theory on what is happening. So throughout the movie, the big play is that, Kevin and Kylie are, they're kids. And so their dad vanishes, like I said, and you see this in the movie, but the parents are still there. Like, the mom is there. She's been up in her room the entire time. The dad, you find out, is really not gone. And this Skinamarink, if that's really what this thing is called, which kind of gets hinted at the end of the movie, it's kind of in a way like taking over their parents. And I feel like I figured out what this movie stands for, at least to me watching it. This movie is interpreting what it's like to be a child. Because number one, the shots in this movie are all angled in a way in which you feel yourself as the viewer, you get locked in to this house and you are a child. Like, you are a part of this family. And there's so much disorientation on what is actually happening, what's real, what's not. And I feel like this movie shows, in an expressionist way, in an abstract way, the dynamics of children and how when you are that little, you feel imprisoned and you feel trapped inside of your house and you feel trapped with your own parents because they have control over everything you do and say. And there are many moments throughout the film where this thing, using their parents, wants them to do certain things that are very terrifying, and I don't know why I'm being so vague, because I assume that you've seen the movie, but I guess I feel like I still can't spoil stuff. The scene with the knife, that is the scene to me where I kind of felt like I kind of glued everything together. It kind of made sense to me, because I didn't really understand what was happening until that moment where I realized that this thing necessarily wants to have control over the children, wants to keep them there, but doesn't want them to ask questions, doesn't want them to kind of rise up against, in a sense. And so, like, that's how we all felt as kids, right? We always felt like we were controlled by our parents. You know, we always thought like our parents. We always believed in the same things that our parents believed in. We always liked the same thing as our parents. And I think that this movie really kind of speaks to those ideologies and the dynamics of young children having that impressionable mindset of being just like their parents, and listening to everything their parents say as if it was true. And so that's what I believe that this movie's about. And I think, to me, it works very well in that regard. When I think about the movie in that way, it really does start piecing things together. I'm just going to say this movie sent shivers down my spine. There was one scene in particular that sent shivers down my spine for 2 minutes straight. I couldn't shake it. I felt trapped in this movie. Every single time they would go down another hallway, every single time that they would cross another corner, every single time I heard the entity say, "Come downstairs, come upstairs," I was like, nope, I'm good. I've seen enough of this house. I don't need to see more. I'm done. Let's just get to the end so I can go home and I can be absolutely scared out of my mind of the dark. And that's what this movie does. It plays on those sensibilities, and it does a great job. Kyle Edward Ball, I can't wait to see what you do next, and well done. I think this movie is a horror masterpiece. I know a lot of people aren't going to see it that way. A lot of people are going to say it's trash. A lot of people are going to say it's really pretentious, and it is. It is very pretentious, very ambitious and different. This is not a movie that, if you go in thinking it is going to be your cookie cutter formulaic horror film, oh boy, you're going to hate it. If you go in understanding that this is an experience, that this is an attraction, I think you can really not just have a lot of fun with it, but really kind of be terrified with the things that are being placed upon you on screen. So that's what I think about this movie, Skinamarink. It was an experience unlike any other, and I'm terrified to see it again on Tuesday, but I'm excited. I'm excited to own this on Blu-ray and to be able to show my friends and people that I love this film, because I do think that this movie is a masterpiece, and I think that this movie is going to sit with me forever. I don't think there's ever going to be a moment where, when the lights go out, I don't think about this movie now. And that's really effective. That's very effective. So good on you, Kyle Edward Ball. You did a damn good job, and I'm excited to see what you do next. And I will never make a horror film like this. It's this abstractionist idea is just not something that really I feel like I'd be good at, but I really do respect a lot of what this movie did, and it actually kind of opened up my eyes to certain things that I maybe could do in the future. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought about Skinamarink if you've seen it, and thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video. I'm gonna sleep with the lights on tonight. Bye.